Okay. The people have spoken back. We are back doing Sleepy D's, Sleep Detectives.
We're back, baby. We're back.
We are back and we are ready to answer all of your real life baby sleep questions. To be honest, we missed it.
Yeah,
we missed
I
doing
quite like
this.
doing this as a separate episode. I do enjoy it.
Yeah. I want to start off with today's episode by actually reading some fan mail that
Oh.
we got, which is really lovely. It came through on my Insta DMs and it says, "Hi, Sally. I just wanted to message to say thank you. I followed you because I appreciated your tips that weren't just straight up sleep training. I've wanted to sleep train for a while because I've been at my wit's end, but haven't been able to due to scheduling just being too crazy to hold any sort of predictable bedtime. But your tips made me feel like I could do something in the meantime while I waited for the opportunity to give sleep training a proper crack. I'm an avid listener to Naptrapped, and it gave me the confidence to be able to make calls and know it was the right decision for my baby. We did night one last night, and as you've said, my baby was quite overstimulated by us going in and settling, so I kept the check-ins as short as possible, and when it came close to what would have been the last check-in, I noticed she was looking like she was self-settling, so we held off, even though hubby was hesitant. It's always the husbands, isn't it?
Yeah. They're the weak
and she
one.
was asleep.
Oh, no, not weak.
Tell us what you really feel back. And she was asleep 1 minute later in 20 minutes overall.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
She then goes on to say other things about she's been following the schedule for a couple of weeks now, and thanks to the early rising protocol that we have a whole podcast episode on, what could have been a 5:40 wake up turned into a quick feed, and she rolled around until 6:04. She fell asleep until I woke her at 6:45 to see my husband off to work. We got to have breakfast together alone, which was such bliss.
Oh, that is so amazing.
It's so lovely. And what I really love about it is that she was able to put in different strategies, including the early rise protocol, keeping those anchor times, working to the schedule alone before then finding the moment to use the sleep training technique to just sort of bring it all home. And that's what we are such huge advocates for, which is doesn't have to be all or nothing. This is about making really sustainable, staggered changes that then add up to the big win. If and when needed, you add in the technique and you teach the self-settling. And what do you know? After all that work, 20 minutes overall at bedtime and this baby self-settles.
Amazing.
So really lovely. We're so happy for you.
And Dad wasn't weak. Dads aren't weak. I didn't mean to say that. I came out of my mouth and I was like, that was the wrong word, Beck. That was the wrong word. It's more that they're kind of like they go to jelly a little bit. Whereas,
but I also think they're not living and breathing it.
Exactly, because like
to the same extent.
They're day in, day out, or we get to sort of listen to it all through the day, for various reasons, and so we kind of get a little bit more, what's the word, like attuned
like a higher
to
tolerance?
it, or a higher tolerance, to it. Whereas dads are sort of like, especially if we're moving into the unknown of doing something different, they're kind of like, I don't know, like we've got a plan, and then it's trying to express that plan to hubby and or your partner,
and he probably hasn't listened to the episode.
I know, exactly.
Don't worry, Beck doesn't think you're weak.
No,
you're just soft.
I was going to say soft. But my husband, definitely, he was the one for sure. He was just would melt with the children, you know what I mean? So it's sort of like and I always felt like the the hardcore.
Oh my God, I've sent Mr. Sleep Concierge to the gym. I had to do the early rise protocol one morning at 5:30, and I could just feel him staring at me, being like, "Are you gonna do something or get this child up or what?" And I was like, "You can go to the gym. This isn't helpful or productive." And of course, the moment he drove out, the baby went back to sleep and slept until 7. But no, I've definitely been like, "Out you go."
They're also the first ones to spruik the fruits of all the work that we've been doing, like at the family barbecue or their friends, they're kind of like, oh, yeah, so we just did this, so we just did that. And then, and our little
your
one
baby
sleeps
doesn't
all the way
sleep through the night?
Yeah. Anyway,
I will say, we just had an amazing dad in Camp Snooze that
we did.
they worked as a great team, but Dad was primarily the stay-at-home parent during Camp Snows. Absolutely rocked it. We love
Mm,
dads.
yep.
Let's dive into answering some baby sleep questions. Here we
Let's
go.
do this.
7-month-old has done a few nights with only one wake up, but usually has a few false starts. Any tips?
I would be doing a little audit of the day and see, like, wanting to know when the naps are happening, because typically false starts are directly derived from the last nap, what time it's happening,
Mm.
and if there's been any sort of wonky issues, like, that like nap 2 hasn't linked together and that's been a short nap, and then nap 3 might have been earlier. I'm just throwing scenarios out there. Nap 3 might
Mm.
have been earlier, and the wake window to bedtime might have been kept at the normal 7 o'clock, but it's been stretched a little bit too far, and now the friendship is broken, and now we're sort of
Yeah.
getting high
Yeah.
cortisol, and so it can often be a sleep pressure related issue.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. It's usually sleep pressure, and sometimes it can be under tiredness. If you've got an easy sleeper, they're like, "That's fine. I'm happy to
mm,
go to sleep," but you have to be tired enough to stay asleep. I'd say that's
mm,
less
mm.
common. It's probably more that wake window, the 3rd nap was either a little bit too short, despite your best efforts. There's just something funky going to be happening with that last nap, last wake window. I think sometimes it can also happen if you may think baby is self-settling at bedtime, but perhaps for example, the final milk feed is just a little bit too close and doing a little bit too much of the work.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so they're going down sort of 3/4 of the way asleep. It looks like they're self-settling because they roll over and put themselves off to sleep. But then coming out of that first sleep cycle, they're like, wait, what? What am I meant to
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
I need help getting it across the line. And so
Mhm,
sometimes it can just be a little bit of a combination of the two. But usually with a schedule audit and then reviewing that final moment, you need to do with any kind of false start is use your sleep training technique until baby goes back to sleep just to strengthen the skill so then it doesn't also become habitual.
mhm. Yep, correct.
Excellent. Okay. Hi, 13-month old out of cot 6:45. Nap 1, 10 till 10:30. Nap 2, 2 till 3:30. Bed 7. How do I bring nap 2 forward?
I'm
Oh,
gonna sound like quite obvious here, but you just bring it forward. Like, you just make the nap 1 o'clock. Is that what she's meaning? Like, as in
I
nap
think so,
2?
but do you know, I had that moment of, you know how terrible you and I both are with daylight savings of like spring forward, fall back? I was like, does
Yeah.
forward mean you want it to go la later, or are we
Oh,
bringing it earlier? I had that split second thought of, "Am I reading this wrong?" I think she's wanting to bring it earlier in the day would be my interpretation. Because usually we would do the 10 till 10:30 and the 1 till 3
yeah,
at 13
correct.
months.
So that's right. So a lot of families do ask us, in the lead up to sort of making a big change in terms of, like, transitioning to different schedules, do I do this gradually over a case of a week of, do I do 5-minute increments to actually get to the next time frame? And we are big believers, and we just pull the pin and we just get onto the new schedule straight away, so that
Mm,
then
mm.
we can manage what's ahead of us rather than smaller increments of time are just, it's almost trickier, because if it doesn't go
I
to
think
plan,
so
then you're
too.
managing that. You may as well just sort of rip the Band-Aid off and just sort
You're
of,
kinda just delaying the inevitable too.
yeah.
Let's just
Mm,
do it. You might be working harder than you have to. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be some seamless, "Oh my goodness, it just worked 10 out of 10," but at least you know there's nothing else to do but follow through with your plan as such, whether that's
yeah.
resettling or, a contact nap at that time to try and get it in. It's not umming and ahhing about, "Is this because of timings?"
I think one thing for this mum to consider is that if this nap schedule has been happening for some time and it's going pretty well, then the second nap is kind of locked in with the internal clock. So just by moving it to 1 hour earlier to 1 o'clock, it doesn't necessarily mean that baby's going to be on board with all of that. And it might
Mm,
feel like it's not working, but it is persistence and consistency. So if you're going to switch it to a 1 o'clock nap timing, just be prepared for there to be a little bit of pushback
mm,
until that whole routine settles in. And it's going to settle in with the exposure to the dark room and
mhm.
repetition and consistency. So you're working with the internal clock. So this is just something that often doesn't click straight away because it
Mm.
seems to be working what she's doing at the moment. So if the nap is 2 to 3:30, that seems to be working. So in order to sort of move the schedule around, just be prepared for 1 o'clock to maybe not feel seamless for a little while.
Yeah, it's a little dose of jet lag. The body clock's just not
Yeah.
expecting it. Here we go. 6-month-old, 2 weeks a night, not starving at 7 a.m. How can I wean? Self settles every nap. This is a really common scenario. And the first thing that jumps out at me, if your baby can self settle at every nap, I already know the skill set of self settling is really strong.
Mm,
Naps are notoriously harder
yeah.
than at bedtime and overnight. So you can feel so confident in tweaking your response overnight because you're not going to be asking baby to do anything that they
Mm-hmm.
don't already know how to do. At 6 months old, I think the majority of the families that you and I are starting with, Beck, would have at least two feeds in the night, sometimes four or five still in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be having a look at the timings of it. We would nearly always start with 4 hourly
Mm-hmm.
feeds overnight. So if you've got, let's say, a feed happening at 8:30 p.m.,
Mm-hmm.
an hour and a half after bed, we're going to say you're going to resettle that. That would be our initial sort of goalpost.
Mm-hmm.
4 hourly feeds overnight. You follow up with the day schedule, which would include 4 hourly milk feeds during the day, and you resettle everything else confidently in between. Then families can get stuck in that 4 hourly,
Mm,
the 10:30, and then somewhere between 2:30 and 3:30 there's a feed. And so if everything is lined up during the day, including milk feeds and solids if they're in the mix, and your naps are great, then we would say that 10:30 wake, we're going to now resettle that one with your
mhm,
sleep training technique until asleep and then feed it the next wake up. And it can sometimes be a tricky resettle because your baby for however long is like something happens at 10:30. We see this all the time. 10:30
yeah.
can be a really really tricky
Mhm.
resettle and it feels like it's never going to work. You feel like it's genuine hunger and then I'm telling you once they fall asleep, you'll be thinking they're going to wake in 5 minutes. And if they do,
Yeah.
no drama, you're going to go in and feed. But time and time again what happens is they sleep until 1, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And oh, that was truly a body clock circadian rhythm, like alarm bell that goes off at 10:30 rather than genuine hunger. You go in at the 1 o'clock waking, full feed. You can still feed 4 hours later, but that's going to get you to a 5 a.m. That's going to be the world's smallest bottle or a half boob, just
Yeah.
enough to take the edge off back down until 7. And already you are so close to dropping one of those feeds because to the point of the question, which is it sounds like the 7 a.m. feed is not as full and
Mm,
satiating as they're hoping it would be, which means that's what we're wanting to protect. And the 7 a.m. feed tells us everything we need to know about what's happening overnight in terms of
mhm.
calories going in. So you've got the right idea that we need to redistribute those calories back into the day. It usually takes you nudging out that first feed, and then
Mm.
you can continue to push it out, or baby will organically start to do that.
And then it's all stems from whatever time that first feed of the night is, that becomes your new anchored time. So
Mm.
if baby wakes at 1:15, so you've resettled 10:30, they wake at 1:15, you would resettle all wakings before 1:15 the night, the second night. And
Yes.
then it just, you keep that progress intact. And what tends to happen is that second feed of the night gets pushed out pretty quickly because baby will keep doing these amazing, chunky sort of um, length of time, like, that's not the right word, chunky nights where you feel like, okay, if they didn't wake at 1:15, they woke at 1:45. And organically then, you've got a feed in the mix at, 1:45, big milk feed, and then they're going to go all the way through and they might not wake until 6 o'clock, which is then just a resettle rather than a feed overnight. You kind of wait until 7 to offer the first feed. So then your 7 a.m. milk feed gets bigger and bigger because you're redistributing the calories. And then because there's more calories going in through the day, it means that they can sleep their longer stretches overnight. So then it sort of gets the one feed moves from 1:45 to 2:30. You anchor that in, and then it gets later and later. So it feels like a bit of a mountain to like climb initially, but at the moment you resettle that habitual wake at that sort of 10:30 mark, that's when you're going to start seeing the dividends from your hard work.
Absolutely. And we have a podcast episode called The Golden Rules of Overnight Weaning. And I think if you're wanting to hear that explained in greater detail and a bit more step by step, that's going to outline it beautifully for you. Because I feel like that family, that the mother that's asked this question is in a great position and a great age to start looking to bump out those feeds, which is really appropriate.
Great. Good luck.
Okay. When should I stop following wake windows and start following a time-based schedule? My baby is 10 months old.
Ooh, we just did a podcast episode, didn't we,
We've
on
recorded it, but I don't know if
this?
it'll have gone out in time for
It's
this
such a great
listener.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go really in depth into that. And oh, gosh, what did we decide? Maybe by
It's a
by
yes
sort of
and.
5. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a yes and I almost
Yeah.
feel like by answering it now, we just go straight into doing it's like answering that question as a podcast because there's so many variables to it.
Yeah.
But typically, I would say from 11 months. If this little one is 11 months, did you say
10 months.
10 months? You would be on a clock-based schedule to start your day. So 7 a.m. up, and then without thought, that first nap is going to be 9:30. Like we wouldn't even like 9:30 for nap one at 10 months. So your day sort of starts at that point as an anchored point of call.
I love a clock-based schedule. The nuance comes from the fact that a clock-based schedule is dictated by age-appropriate wake windows. And the way that we work is that first nap really is the uptime, and the feed times and the first nap of the day is locked in. The confusion can sometimes be, and this is what we deep dive into on the podcast without confusing you now, is that naps understandably don't go to plan, and we anticipate that all the time. And so we will then use your wake window from when they actually woke to know when the next snap is.
Yeah.
So that's where the yes and is. It's that we use a clock based. If you've got a great sleeper that's not showing out funky naps, then it's a clock based thing. Like if you know that your baby can do 9:30 till 11, great. At 10 months, you're going to go straight in with a 2 till 3:30. You don't need to think twice about that.
Yeah.
It's when things don't go to plan that we will give you your troubleshooting plan to use your wake window so that you don't end up with a hot mess, overtired baby. We try our best to minimize that for you. But really from the age of 5+ months, we focus the day around the clock.
Yeah.
Makes me think
And
like rocking around. Oh no, that's a Christmas tree, not a clock.
I think definitely the idea behind the using the wake windows, the yes and is so that you know with absolute certainty how to troubleshoot and rescue your day when things don't go to plan. And that's the beauty of understanding wake windows and also having a pretty tied down schedule as well in the first half of the day, because that first half of the day really anchors in how the second half could potentially play out. And it kind of keeps everything, like even if the first and second nap don't go to plan, it should help you get to bedtime on a pretty good wicket and not too early and not too late. So so there is a method to why we anchor the first half of the day in, and it will all be explained in that podcast episode.
And in my defense of wanting to sing "Rock Around the Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree," the song it was making me think of was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 o'clock rock,
Clock.
5, 6,
Did it
7 o'clock,
for
8
7 o'clock,
o'clock
8
rock.
o'clock.
We're
Did
gonna
it.
rock around the clock tonight. Anyway, I digress, but just so you didn't think I was absolutely hallucinating. 13-month-old finally sleeping through, but second nap is hit and miss. 10:30 long nap guaranteed. Any tips? Okay, the red flag as I read that out loud is the long nap.
Yeah.
This is what we see at this age, and this is exactly why the transitional schedule exists, is that when a baby has a long nap and they love a long morning nap, love, love, love,
Mhm. Yeah.
it impacts the second nap and you either get a skipped nap and then a huge long wake window or a 5:30 p.m. bed, which is not
Mm.
sustainable for anyone, or you're you're getting a really short rubbish, like hit or miss, as she describes, hit or miss second
Yeah.
nap, and you're
And you're
left sort
working
of
really
chasing your tail.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels so frustrating, like, "Why aren't you going down? You normally go down. Like, come on, you're supposed to be asleep." And it's just that it's so frustrating and taxing at the same time to try and
Mm,
encourage that second nap, and it just feels like you're, pushing things uphill, and you just wanna give up. And so a lot of families do give up on that second nap, and they just persevere with the first nap being really long and really early.
mm,
And we really want to encourage families to try and keep the 2 naps for as long as possible, because typically what we would see is it's great that the 13-month-old is sleeping through the night now, which is so phenomenal. But
mm.
if we were to give up on that nap and, there's that second nap and it's just the first nap, it's earlier in the day, compounding overtiredness night after night after night, because there's such a big long wake window from the end of the first nap to all the way through till bedtime, it will ultimately play out in really early rising, multiple wakings overnight. It's guaranteed. Like,
Mm.
it's just going to happen at some point. Sleep is going to become disrupted overnight and you won't know where to start. So we
Yeah.
try and encourage families to really work on optimizing the 2 naps for as long as humanly possible. The way to do that is to cap nap 1 so that
Mm.
there is enough sleep pressure for baby or toddler to want to go down for the second nap. So typically at this age, nap 1 is capped at 30 minutes so that then we can preserve the sleep pressure for nap 2 somewhere around the 1:30-ish mark by the time they sort of head down to bed.
Yes, no notes.
Done.
Great.
That's your problem solved.
Here Okay, I just got distracted because this is a good question. Not sleep related, but your most fun parenting stage. First time mum with an 8-month-old pterodactyl.
Oh.
What's your
I mean,
most
I would
fun
have
parenting stage?
I mean, I love, love, love I mean, I love 0 to 12 months. Give me a baby any
You
day.
love a baby.
Newborn, I love a newborn.
Mm.
I just find, like, maybe I mean, gosh, I hope it's fun for them. I wouldn't they always seemed happy. I just found it I just loved the challenge of it. I don't know if that's right to say or not, but I love the challenge of every new stage and everything happens so quickly and everything changes so quickly and it keeps you on your toes. And I really like the challenge of
Mm.
all of that and making sure it all sort of lined up. Um, and then from there, I've got to say, like this age, like the teenage
Oh,
years,
yeah, tell me about it.
yeah, like Harlow she's almost 14. She is so fun. She is so, so fun. She's a really good girl. And then my middle child who's 16 and my eldest who's 18. And they're just young adults and they get a joke and
Mm.
everyone's sarcastic and it's light and it's funny and I don't know, it's just really fun. But I know there's lots of people that love the toddler ages, like absolutely really
I
got off on
I
that.
think once they can W I have loved lots of different stages, and I always, at each new milestone, was someone who anticipated feeling sad. I was like, "Okay,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to okay, gearing up, like, they don't need an overnight feed. Am I gonna miss it?" Or they're moved into their own room. I definitely felt a little bit sad with that. But I actually enjoyed every single moment because no, 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 no. I did not enjoy every single moment. But in terms of the parenting stages, yes, there were tricky things that came about, but there was also magic in the sense that increasingly, I noticed my babies became family members rather than
Mm.
just blobs.
Yeah.
And hearing a even I've been blown away in the last couple of weeks, something has unlocked in my 4-year-old's brain. His sentences, he can use a pun. And I'm like, "Where did this
Oh, oh
how did
my
that
God, that's
happen?"
so cool.
They're funny. They become uh, there's a magic to it. I remember being told, "Oh, when they start walking, it's a nightmare."
Mhm.
I loved it. I think that would be one of my most fun parenting ages and stages because A, it's less grubby. Like, get off the
Mhm.
floor.
Yeah.
It helped my washing. But all of a sudden, it was like, oh, I have this little best friend that I can go and do things with. They were trotting behind me. They were able to reach up and hold my hand. It felt like a really cool moment that I could then
Mm.
hang out with them in a really different way.
Mm.
Uh, so I think the walking. Okay, 22-month-old sleep schedule.
I'm going
Do you
in
like how
with
I
a
just waited?
and I'm sure anyone who's watching will see my eyes, like, go right up to the top, like, searching for a
Well,
schedule
how
in my brain. Like, how would I do that? Well,
No, we're
firstly, I'm
gonna go
thinking
with
22 months. How old is that?
just under 2. We're gonna go with 12:30 till 2:33 if you can get it, 3 p.m. if you can get
Yeah,
it, and then a 4-hour wake window to bed. So either 6:30 p.m. into bed, 9 I self-settle, or if it's a 3 o'clock finish, you're gonna do a 7 p.m.
correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Perf.
Okay. Is a dummy for resettling a bad habit? Self settles without a dummy. Bubs is 3 months old. I think it's a unanimous no. A dummy is
No.
not a bad habit. I actually think we can ditch the bad habit idea for most things. Things are habits, things are associations. You have a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah.
You can use as many tools as you
Yeah.
like to help get some rhythm, routine, some sleep, some quieter patches if there's colic or witching
Yeah.
hours. Like the dummy can be really resourceful for and helpful for a lot of families.
Yeah.
And even though I sometimes am a bit more inclined to ditch the dummy,
Mhm.
um, you like we keep the dummy for so many babies. If it becomes a problem, we work to then uh, make it that it's not a problem, and that's so
Yeah, well, I think
possible.
yeah, in this scenario, the fact that you pop the dummy in and they go back off to sleep, it's problem solved.
Great.
So I'm super happy with that because it sort of tells us that baby wanted to go back off to sleep and they just needed a little bit of help.
Yep.
Um, so I'm really happy to have the dummy in the mix, and there's every chance that by encouraging your little one to go back to sleep, that there's a high chance that organically they will just start linking their sleep cycles without the need of the dummy because they're so in tune with this is a long nap
Mm,
rather than just waking and carrying on with the day.
yep. All right, let's do one more. Sophie asks, at what age do you push the nap later, or is it always 12:30? 20 months old on one nap. So perfect timing for 20 months. It's probably more like 2.5, would you say, Beck, at age 2.5 that we might move closer to, oh, even 2?
I say 2, yeah.
Yeah,
So from
to
2
a
two
1 till,
1
sorry, I
till
keep cutting you off.
2:30?
Yep,
No, 1 till 2:30, 3 o'clock,
yep.
something like that. Just depends. I would do 1 o'clock for sure, especially if you're going to start hitting the 2-year regression as well. So you want to make sure you've got maximum sleep pressure. So a 12:30 nap is probably not going to work. And in
Mm.
terms of like using a strategy for the 2-year regression, 1 o'clock works really well.
The reason I hesitate is that I just find it at that age, it can just, the toddlers can just do their own thing. There are so many
Mm,
2-year-olds that could still be absolutely rocking a 12:30 till 2:30
100%.
with no
Yeah.
issue, and that would have been mine as well. So it would more be for me, like, having awareness around that would be a completely appropriate change, but it's
Hmm.
about what's actually happening
Yeah.
with sleep and whether or not you need to, not just because you've hit the age of 2 or hit the age of
Mm,
2.5. But I do know for mine that closer to 2.5, I've restructured things
yeah.
to build some sleep pressure. Okay, well, so good to be back. So good to go off topic as per usual. Nothing has changed here. And we will put out another question box next week so that we can keep answering your sleepy D's. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a
Bye.
good one.